So when we think about these stages of the client journey, you have the opportunity as a business owner to get really clear on what actions are happening at each stage of the client journey. As a former teacher, I don't believe that you have to sacrifice your purpose in order to get paid. If anybody deserves to be a millionaire, it's an educator. I'm Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas, and you're listening to Seven Figure Educator. Welcome back to another episode of the Seven Figure Educator podcast. My name is Dr. Erica Jordan Thomas, former teacher, former principal, and current full-time entrepreneur. I am CEO and founder of EJT Education Group, a seven-figure education consulting business. So during this episode, I want to break down the client journey. Now, I want to talk about this business topic because honestly, if you don't have this thoughtfulness around your client journey, then you really don't have a business or you don't have a sustainable business. And so I wanted to take time during this episode to really dissect what is a client journey, what are the components of a client journey, how are you thoughtful about that as a business owner, and what are some of the steps that you should be taking in order to take control of the client journey and influence your leads into conversion. So let's break down what the client journey is. So first off, the client journey is simply what is the process from when someone comes to know you all the way to the journey of them becoming an actual client. So the first step of them becoming aware of you to the final step of them becoming a client. What happens in between that process is defined as the client journey. So I want to give us a little bit more kind of context and details to actually okay, well, what happens between point A and point Z? And for real, it's really not point Z because there's an opportunity that happens after someone becomes a client. So let's actually break down what are the stages and phases of a client journey so that way you have that language as a business owner. So the first stage of the client journey is awareness. This is where a stranger becomes aware of you and your business, and now you are no longer a stranger. So this is where marketing sits, right? The act of marketing is building awareness around your business. You're driving traffic to your business. So the awareness stage is around driving traffic and building awareness of your business. Then next, we have consideration. So how do you take someone who now you used to be a stranger, you're no longer a stranger, they're aware of you. Now, how do they move to consideration, where they're starting to learn more about you and your business, and they're starting to consider you as a potential partner, someone to work with? I know you're listening to this episode, and if you felt like you found your community, well, I want you to take the next step to join our community on Facebook. I have a free Facebook group, other Black education consultants just like you, and we're talking about proposals, we're talking about the next opportunity, people are collaborating and finding contracts together. It's an amazing, beautiful space that we've been able to curate, and I want to invite you to join. So go ahead and click the link in the show notes to be able to request to join my Facebook group, and I look forward to engaging with you there. So we move from awareness to consideration. And then the next phase is preference. Because I can consider you, but I may not prefer you just yet. So there's certain actions that you should be taking as a business that are nurturing that lead, that are building a relationship with that lead, that's building trust with that lead, that moves them from, they could be someone that I work with, which is consideration, to the preference phase, which is I prefer to work with them. Out of all of the people in the marketplace who are offering this service, I want to work with you. That's the preference stage. Then once we move into the preference stage, the next stage is they actually make a buying decision and now they become a client. So awareness, consideration, preference, client. Now, I've actually added on an additional stage to this client journey because it's simple, but it's one that's most forgotten about, that even after they become a client, you still need to be thoughtful of that relationship because there's 3 ways to make money: finding new clients, upselling current clients, and reactivating former clients. The easiest money on the table, I'm not saying it's easy to do, but the lowest hanging fruit is actually upselling or continuing to sell to your current clients. So that last phase that I'm going to add on to our client journey is the renewal process. And that's an intentional phase that we don't want to forget, because now we're able to take advantage of the lowest hanging fruit in our business of folks who already know us. They've already worked with us. They've already spent money with us. They know our value. We're taking advantage of the opportunity to continue to support them in the transformation and to get them to convert into an additional offer, upsell into an offer. So we got our client journey here: awareness, consideration, preference, client, conversion, and then renewal. So when we think about these stages of the client journey, you have the opportunity as a business owner to get really clear on what actions are happening at each stage of the client journey. Now, according to Salesforce.com, they say that an average lead needs 6 to 8 touch points in order to move through that client journey, from moving from awareness to client. I believe in this market, and when I say this market, at the time of filming this podcast, we're currently in a market that's contracting, meaning that consumers are more conscious around their spending habits. They're requiring a higher level of trust in order to make a buying decision. They are looking for a deeper relationship before they pull out their credit card. So in this market, I would actually double those number of touch points. So instead of 6 to 8, I would actually be thinking of 12 to 16 touch points. So if we think about this client journey, what does it look like to have 12 to 16 touch points at each phase or throughout the entire phase of this client journey? So 12 to 16 touch points from the beginning of awareness all the way to the end of the client cycle. What does 12 to 16 touch points look like in your business? And for many of you, this might be illuminating, because you might be feeling a little discouraged in your business, thinking that there's something wrong with you or something wrong with your business because you're not converting clients the way in which you want to. When the reality is you just don't have enough touch points, right? Because one webinar is one touch point. So if I'm telling you 12 to 16 touch points, you're going to have to be more thoughtful, more intentional, and more sophisticated with your client journey to be creating value. And each one of those touch points isn't selling. I want to be really clear on that. If you are a Black entrepreneur and you are looking for a playground to be able to grow your business and receive a roadmap for building a 7-figure education consulting business, I want to personally invite you to my upcoming 5-day business school. You're going to have the opportunity to spend 5 days with me, and I'm going to break down my blueprint for helping you grow a 7-figure education consulting business. I'm going to teach you my 7-figure sales process. I'm going to teach you how to develop your offers. We'll talk about pricing. And my goal by the end of the 5 days is that you make money, which means I'm going to help you identify people in your network that you can begin pitching by the end of our 5 days. So there's no excuse, because guess what? It's completely free. I want you to go ahead, head to the link in the show notes to sign up and join me at my next B-School. I'll see you there. An email providing a resource is a touch point. A social media live is a touch point. A webinar is a touch point. A phone call is a touch point. A text message is a touch point. So there's lots of different ways that you could be creating touch points in your business, but you have to be thoughtful and intentional around actually drafting out what these touch points are in your business and then systematizing them such that they happen almost with automaticity in your business rather than all of them being manual. So here's a strategy that I'll offer up, because you may be thinking, oh my God, that's a lot of touch points. Like, well, how do I even figure out what they should be? Like, I don't even know what to say in one email, let alone like all those touch points. Well, here's what I would challenge you to do. I would challenge you to actually conduct a content audit in your business. What's all the content that you have? And most of the time when I walk people through this activity, they don't realize how much content they're sitting on. And when I say content, I mean social media lives. I mean client testimonials. I mean blog posts. I mean any type of short form or long form video content. I mean any type of templates, resources, articles, anything you've written, anything that you have found to be of value related to the problem you're solving that you could share with your audience. If you've been a guest on a podcast, that's another piece of content that you should have in your bank. So I encourage you to take a few minutes during your planning and just conduct a content audit to literally see all the content that you're sitting on. And what most people realize when they go through that activity is that A, they're sitting on a gold mine of content, and B, most of it they haven't been leveraging in their business. Like they do the social media live and then it just sits there on their profile and they haven't found ways to repurpose it. Or they've done the podcast episode and then they share it out with their audience the week that it releases, but then they don't go back and touch it or revisit it after that. So I want you to conduct this content audit to generate all of the content that you have available at your fingertips. And here's the beautiful thing. Each one of those pieces of content individually has the opportunity to be a touch point. And so if you have been a guest on a podcast episode, you can turn that into an email and send it to your email list. That's a touch point. If you wrote a blog post around a issue that your target client engages with and it provides some recommendation, well, guess what? You have the opportunity to turn that into an email, or it could be a text message that you send and push that information out. I guarantee most of you have 12 to 16 pieces of content, which you can now just convert into touch points, right? I know you're enjoying this episode, but I wanted to pop in really quickly to make sure that you know about my event, 7-Figure Educator Live. It is the only event for Black educators who have a vision of a 7-figure education consulting business, and they are ready to make that vision a reality. You have the opportunity to spend 3 days in person with me and my team in Atlanta, Georgia, and I guarantee this is a transformative experience you do not want to miss. So to grab your ticket, you're going to need to head to 7figureeducator.com. Again, that's the number 7figureeducator.com and grab your ticket before the price goes up. The link is also in the show notes. Go ahead and click and I'll see you there. I want you to be thinking about this reflective moment of what do these stages look like in your business? Awareness, consideration, preference, client renewal, and testimonials are a great content piece that could sit at the client renewal phase, right? Like, what would it look like to be getting testimonials of your clients while you're working with them? And then you're repurposing that content into touch points with that client to be able to show this is the transformation we've done together. And it's a great reason to continue to working together. You have a charge. I want you to go and do your content audit. And I want you to be thinking about what these stages look like in your business. And most of the time I found that because we're not always thoughtful around these level of the client journey, or we're not as thoughtful around what's the intentionality of what's happening at each of these phases, we end up having leaks. So someone comes into our business, they join our email list, and yeah, they might get a weekly email, but there's no intentionality around moving someone from consideration to preference. And people are just sitting and they're getting cold. So one of the tools that you would have in your business that helps support the client journey and allows you to see the client journey is a CRM, which stands for Client Relationship Management Tool. So that's really the purpose of a CRM, is to be able to actually give you the level of data that you need in order to actually see the client journey that's happening in your business. So in a thoughtful CRM, you should be able to click on a lead in your CRM and literally see all the touch points that you've had with that particular lead. So here's the thing. If you are using a system and you think it's a CRM and you don't have that ability to actually pull out a specific person who's on your list and see all of the interactions you've had with them, not just emails, but phone calls, any SMS that you've had with them, any notes, if someone is on the phone call with them and they've been able to capture notes, those notes should be in the CRM. If you don't have the capabilities to do that through your tool, then you don't have a real CRM. And so I think that's just an important conversation to have, because there's lots of folks who are in the earlier stage of their business who have some tools that do a portion of that. But if they don't have the full capability for you to see the full client journey, then that tool is actually more of a entry level type of emerging business tool. And you're just going to have to know that as your business continues to grow, you're going to have to upgrade into a more robust CRM. So when I think about the 3 stages of business that we've talked about here on the podcast, of the experimenting stage, which is 0 to 250K, the growing stage, which is 250 to 750K, and then the scaling stage, which is 750K to $1 million plus, this work of the client journey really sits in that growing phase. And so in the experimenting stage, you're doing a lot of experiments to figure out who your target client is, the offer that you're presenting in your business, at what price point, your marketing message. And then once you get really clear on those aspects, now when we're moving into the growing stage, we're now starting to create infrastructure and we're building systems around, okay, what does the client journey actually look like? What are the 1 to 2 major ways that we're generating awareness? And then once people drop on our email list, what's then the next step that most of folks take? Is it a webinar? Is it some type of discovery call? And then from that stage, is it a proposal? Is it they hop on a call with someone? You should be really clear around what's the one lever, the major lever that's happening at each stage of the client journey. And that really sits in the growing phase of business. And then when you're moving into the scaling phase, this is where now you're looking at data to be able to determine what are tweaks that you would make in that client journey and ways that you might decide to innovate at each one of those stages of the journey. My hope that this episode was able to provide you with a couple of tips. And if you found something really meaningful from this episode, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit the subscribe button so that way you can know when the next episode drops. We drop episodes every single week. I will see y'all here on the next episode of the 7 Figure Educator Podcast. Have a great day.